Every hour you work is a trade. You're trading your finite time, your life energy, for a currency that governments can print endlessly. Cold hard truth, if you had $100,000 in the bank in January of 2020 and still have $100,000 today, early 2026, you haven't saved a thing. Inflation has quietly stolen about 25% of its real purchasing power. That's not saving, it's silent theft. Your money isn't a store of value, it's a melting ice cube. So here's the question that used to keep me up at night. Are you going to keep handing over your life hours to a system designed to erode them? Or are you going to start positioning like the smart money does when they see the rules are breaking? Well, today I'm breaking down two conversations that actually matter. They expose the cracks in the traditional financial playbook, but they stop short of the full answer on why crypto, especially Bitcoin, is becoming non-optional for protecting and growing your wealth in 2026. So to start off, you've got a conversation with Tucker Carlson and Coleman Church, a guy with over 30 years in the trenches trading emerging markets debt through real blowups in places like Brazil and Mexico. He's worked at the big banks in London and New York, so he's not theorizing. He's lived the debt crises, IMF bailouts, and brutal volatility. Then we have Shawn Ryan with wealth strategist Rob Luna, 25 plus years in the game, laying out practical 2026 moves. Together they nailed a lot: exploding US debt, endless Fed printing, inflation as a hidden tax, government band-aids like those 50-year mortgages that trap people in debt longer instead of fixing the root problem, and why gold feels like the safe play in chaos. And yes, they touched on crypto, but gave it that skeptical side eye, framing it as potentially another centralized digital control tool, or saying that nobody really understands crypto anyways.
I talk about penny stocks that I don't like, or I talk about not liking crypto, like the cult comes after me. You don't know about crypto, or neither do you.
Which I guess would be fair for traditional finance guys and legacy systems, I guess. So between the two interviews, here's what I noticed the most. They started the conversation without finishing it. The why behind putting even a fraction of your wealth into an asset that plays by completely different rules. That's where I see the bigger picture. Bitcoin's hard 21 million cap, no printing press, true self-custody you control, no one can freeze it, and the real power to opt out when centralized systems squeeze too hard. These fundamentals, scarcity, self-custody, decentralization, keep delivering stronger results cycle after cycle, even as old school views slowly catch up. These talks aren't just warnings. They're the wake-up call that crypto is shifting from just an interesting side bet to a core strategic move for real protection and upside. So stick with me. I'm going to show you exactly why this matters, where the traditional guys get it right, and of course where they fell short, and the simple way to think about adding it to your investment strategy. Because if you're not positioning now, how much are you going to regret it later? Coleman Church laid it out perfectly. The US is approaching 40 trillion in debt, billions added daily. When governments print money out of thin air for wars, bailouts, and programs, they're not creating liquidity. They're devaluing the dollars we worked hard to earn. Rob Luna calls these government band-aids. Take 50-year mortgages. Home prices surged far beyond wages. So instead of fixing the currency, the solution is to keep you in debt for half a century. Inflation is a hidden tax. It funds the system without your vote. That's why Bitcoin matters. It's the first real practical way to opt out, an asset you control completely with no central authority able to inflate it away. So why is Bitcoin no longer just a tech play or side bet? Let me show you. The dollar can be printed whenever needed for the next bailout. Bitcoin has a hard-coded 21 million cap. No exceptions, no band-aids. Real scarcity enforced by math.
Is there any way for the U.S. government to use stablecoins as a weapon in the way the Biden administration used Russian assets at the New York Fed as a weapon?
I don't know. I imagine there is. I don't know what that mechanism would be. And I don't think, in the Russia Reserve instance, it was a bilateral seizure. This would be a seizure of untold amounts of investors.
If a government-controlled digital dollar has expiration dates, spending rules, or freezes, your freedom is gone. Bitcoin is permissionless. I hold the keys. I control my wealth. No one can shut it off. Blockchain creates an open, immutable record. Every transaction is verifiable by anyone, making hidden schemes much harder. Need a real-world example? Try the recent Minnesota daycare allegations. Claims that centers received millions in taxpayer dollars while very much appearing empty or inactive.
Well, this is actually 2 daycares are registered here. One of them is Mako, which you see on this sign. The other one is Mini Child Care Center. And between the two of these child care centers, they're pulling in about $3 million a year. And there are no children. Every facility as you go to, the windows will be blocked out so you can't see in. There's nobody here. You won't see a single child at any of these facilities.
These serious accusations went viral, triggering investigations and funding freezes. In the old system, opacity and middlemen make mismanagement or fraud easy to hide. With blockchain, everything's on a public ledger anyone can audit. No black boxes, no just trust us scenarios. That's the accountability traditional setups fail to deliver. Rob Luna went on to say AI is moving at dog-year speeds, changing or wiping out traditional jobs and banking models faster than most can adopt.
But this year, looking out over the next 12 months, and I think with AI in particular, it's kind of like even more than dog years. Like every year is 10 years in business and your personal life, and things are just moving so quickly now. And when I look at the next year, I've never been more optimistic about what's going on in the country and the opportunities for entrepreneurs, but also I'm pretty frightened and pessimistic about the things. And the reason being is because all of the opportunity that maybe we'll talk about with AI, I think there's very few people that are prepared to take advantage of that.
But crypto lives outside that stagnation. It's a high-growth space that benefits from change. The more people use Bitcoin, Solana, or Ethereum, the more valuable they become, like Facebook or Amazon. When BlackRock or other nations are buying Bitcoin, they're bringing stability and upside to the network. Now, more US merchants and online stores accept Bitcoin or stablecoins directly. Transactions settle instantly, often with fees 2 to 3% lower than that of credit cards and no long waits. Shoppers pay less, businesses keep more, and money moves faster, all within the US economy without the traditional middleman cut. Platforms like Shopify, Square, and major processors are already making it happen. When you hold crypto thoughtfully, not chasing meme coins, it's not gambling. I'm withdrawing consent from a system that trades decades of labor for currency they create in seconds. It's about sovereignty and smart positioning. Now, I'm not trying to sell a fairy tale. Honesty matters. Rob Luna gave solid cautions and I take them seriously. So let's address them. Volatility is real. Crypto swings hard short term. If you're using it for money needed soon, it is gambling. I treat it as a long-term hedge, not an emergency fund. Governments can tax, regulate exchanges, or debank users, making it harder at times to convert back to dollars for real-world needs. We've seen restrictions, stricter taxes, and cautious banks. But the trend is towards clarity, not bans. Clear tax guidance, ETF approvals, and licensed exchanges. Bitcoin is treated as property or commodity, not a threat to eliminate. And self-custody really is your shield. With a hardware wallet, no one can freeze your coins. Even if centralized platforms tighten, your Bitcoin stays under your control. The ecosystem really does adapt fast. For long-term holders, this is friction, not elimination. And if you ask me, and by watching this video, I'll assume that you are, I say the upside still outweighs the noise. For every Bitcoin, there are also thousands of projects that fail, flop, or scam. With AI advancing so quickly, today's hot protocol could become obsolete if not built to last. Fortunately, most of the scams and failures stay confined to the risky, speculative side of crypto. The low-cap meme coins, the hype-driven tokens from anonymous teams, the 100x guaranteed promises. The proven core, like Bitcoin, operates in a completely different category. It's battle-tested, simple, secure, and built to endure. The junk lives out there in the noise. The foundation just keeps standing strong. Bitcoin is in a different league. For over 15 years, it has survived every attack. It has died and come back to life hundreds of times and has a simple, secure protocol with no single point of failure. Education is your armor. Learn the red flags, use reputable tools, and community checks like Arkham Intelligence, Block Explorers, or even basic sentiment on X. The strong and educated survive. History proves this. Look, even solid assets like Bitcoin can feel stuck for a minute if on-ramps for buying or off-ramps for selling back to cash get caught up in temporary exchange restrictions. Banks act overly cautious, or regulators who want to make a name for themselves try to throw together new rules. We've seen this happen. Temporary headaches, higher fees, or delays while things sort themselves out. But here's the truth. Self-custody flips everything. When you hold your Bitcoin in a hardware wallet, it's yours. That's the whole point of decentralization. You're not at anyone's mercy. Scarcity, security, adoption are doing the heavy lifting over time. Bitcoin is borderless by design. No single government can shut the whole thing down. Plan smart, self-custody, have a few different ramps ready, keep a long-term mindset, and this stuff becomes a minor annoyance, not a crisis. The real value? Protection from devaluation and actual control over your money. That's why people who get it stay in the game. So the big takeaway from Church and Luna, the old save and wait rules are broken. Inflation steals our time quietly and band-aids won't fix it. I believe that crypto is one of the most powerful tools for hedging devaluation, gaining freedom, and capturing upside when used thoughtfully. Your wealth is your time. Don't let the printing press steal any more of it. If this hit home, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you're interested in more crypto news, insights, and education. And as always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay tuned for more crypto news and education.